Good evening guys, welcome to the Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday round 2, live from Misano. We've got an exciting race in line tonight as it's round 2 from the championship. We've got about 14 minutes left of practice before we head into the qualifying. And then we head into two 30-minute sprint races for the new format this season. So currently we've got around about 16 drivers on the grid so far, with maybe one or two more to join, so we've got a fairly healthy sized grid for you tonight. And interestingly, the winner, the double winner from last week, AMS, is unfortunately missing tonight due to being on holiday, I believe. So that does give a couple of drivers an opportunity to gain some points on AMS. I'll take you through the championship standings in a moment. Currently just watching Rob 2K get the Bentley set up, ready for the race. Got about 13 minutes left, so I assume a few drivers will probably be doing a few low fuel quali runs. So, from last week, if you joined us last week from Imola, we had two cracking races where AMS kind of led from start to finish. So in terms of the championship, it is only round 2, but the standings are obviously AMS with his double win takes him to 81 points in first place. Second is Storico with 74, so a gap of 7 points. He finished second last week, Storico. Then we have Jetpack Nebula in third on 70 points, 11 points behind AMS. He finished P5 last week. And then our third place driver from last week, Rob, is P4 on 70 points, the same as Jetpacker. And then in fifth is your platinum driver, Ben Milden, on 66. So just to recap there, you've got AMS in first place, Storico second, Jetpack third, Rob fourth, and Ben Milden in fifth. And then to take you through to 6th to 10th, we've got Elysium, who finished P6, Lamaro 7th, Moss 8th, King of the Hills 9, and Gabri in 10th. And then your final 4 drivers in the championship standings is Marty in 11th place on 39 points, who finished P11 last week, Chico in 12th, Darren in 13th, and Nico 1891 in the Audi in P14. So that is your top 14 drivers from the pro category. We've got a few more drivers tonight who weren't here last week, I believe. Got a couple of reserves in as well. 18 drivers so far. Coops, nice to have you with us, mate. It was a good weekend, yeah. I'm not going to lie, I'm probably still suffering from a 2-day hangover. I was in Birmingham for 2 days on Thursday and Friday for a work conference. And yeah, a free bar all night. I'm still suffering. So if I do seem a little bit despondent tonight, then blame the alcohol from Friday night. That's what happens, I think. People keep telling me, when you reach 30, that's what happens, you can't hack it. And I've got about 5 weeks of being 29 left, so I'm fast approaching 30. And I can already tell that my body just cannot handle hangovers anymore. But I'm looking forward to this race. I can assure you, it was a work conference, at least until 5 PM. After that, I'm not so sure. It certainly was a good night. But we actually had Joe Wiley DJing, so yeah, it was a good laugh. Anyway, focus on tonight. So lap times tonight. You'll see here on the left-hand side, Rob is in the 34s, 34.8 so far. We don't know what level of fuel that is on. I would suspect we're going to be in the low 35, so the 34 is a good time from Rob. I would imagine we'll see a race pace of around about mid 35s, maybe lower 36s for the drivers in probably the second half of the grid. We'll see what the pace is looking like. Obviously, as we go into qualifying, practice is always a little bit of a weird time to kind of get an idea of people's pace, because people are running different programs. You know, most tend to focus on the race pace, the longer race pace, or the short runs. But just to remind you of the format, guys, so we've got 2 races of 30 minutes. There is no mandatory stop, so it is pretty much from start to finish racing. And if you are joining us live, please don't forget to drop a like on the video. If you're not already subscribed, then whack that subscribe button. The guys at FRL will be very much appreciative if you were to do that. So, Shanto is showing us disqualified at the moment in P18. I'm not sure if that's a visual bug. I'm not sure what he's done there to get disqualified from a practice session. Evening, Ams, joining us live on the stream. I'm sure you're gutted to be missing tonight's race. So guys, just a heads up before the race gets going tonight, I am going to be staying with this broadcast camera angle throughout this evening because the PlayStation 5 is still slightly buggy when it comes to the flicking around the cameras. If you were to kind of go on board and switch around the cameras on board, the game can all of a sudden crash. So I'm not going to risk that this evening, I'm just going to stay with this view. But I believe there is a patch coming in a couple of weeks for when the American DLC hits the console version, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that stabilises the game a little bit. There is some random bugs going on. Ams, you're asking about who my money's on tonight. If I was a betting man, I don't want to do the commentator's curse here, so if I say this driver and they don't have a good race, then don't blame me, but my money is on Rob 2K. He was really consistent last week, obviously brought it home in 3rd place, I believe, in the Bentley. Both races nice and consistent, race pace was consistent, so that's my tip for tonight, Rob. So, track conditions tonight, guys. As you'll see at the top, we've currently got a track that has just gone to optimum grip. 22 degrees air temp with a track of 26, and there is no wind, so absolutely no chance of rain tonight. You're thinking Ben Milden. I don't think you can rule Ben out. I think hopefully he won't hate me for saying this, but I think he struggled for pace a little bit last week in the Aston Martin. But obviously it is track dependent. I know some people do struggle at other tracks, as do the cars. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Ben gets on this week, to see if he can extract a bit more pace from that Aston. So one of the difference from last week as well is we haven't got the AM tier in with us tonight. It is just a pro lobby. So we have got 18 drivers currently on the grid. These are all pro level drivers for the SimGear Super Sprint Sunday League. Good evening, Axel. Nice to see you, mate. Hopefully none of the drivers have your luck from last night, Axel, in terms of disconnection. Axel was leading a race around Misano last night and unfortunately disconnected probably about half hour into a race and did not go down well, but hopefully none of the drivers share that luck tonight. Tricky track, Misano. I think there's certainly a few corners on here that can catch drivers out. It's certainly a high downforce, quite a hard suspension circuit. You know, you can really cut the corners around here. I think it's all about cutting the corners and maximising the apex speed. So overtaking spots, obviously you've got your turn one, but I think certainly going into, if I get my corner names correct, turn 8, the hairpin is certainly probably the best overtaking spot on this track, I would say. But certainly you can get a run off turns 5 and 6. Track limits as well, I think can be an issue, certainly on T6. Track limits can be a bit of an issue, and certainly around the back straight on the double right-handers. If you go a little bit wide out there, the game will give you a stern telling off. But it's not a track we see on many racing leagues. I think Misano, sometimes is overlooked compared to the other tracks, so it's certainly good to see it on the calendar this season. Hopefully it's going to throw up a couple of decent races for us all to watch. So just a minute to go, guys, for qualifying, and then probably a minute or two before the server just to update before the qualifying gets underway. So I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. Get yourself a beer, get yourself a cup of tea. In my case, it'll be a black coffee. And I'll be back with you in a few minutes' time. Okay guys, so as you'll see, the flag has dropped for practice here at Misano, and we're going to go straight into qualifying. Let's see who the first one is out on the track. Drivers are straight out. Let's try and get on board with the first driver out, which I believe it was Moss, car number 91. It is. So I'll try and bring you the cars as they cross the line. I'll do my best. Get on board a flying lap. As I said, for those who are joining the stream, I'm going to stay with this broadcast camera throughout tonight, as the console version is still a little bit buggy. As and when you go on board with the onboard cameras, I'm just not going to risk the game crashing tonight and the stream interrupting, so this is it. So first lap out, always about getting the tyres up to temperature and up to the correct pressure. You know, you're never going to set the fastest lap on the first flying run, but it's all about these first couple of laps, just building up the car, building up the tyres. Hopefully the drivers are feeling confident in what they're doing. They should have learnt the track by now. This is where the pressure can get to people in qualifying. I know I'm certainly not great doing the low fuel runs compared to race pace, but 15 minutes to separate the men from the boys, as they say. It looks like Moss is just letting some cars go by here. So we'll go on board with Ben, who is going to be the first car across the line to set a lap, as he's about to start his lap, sorry. So car number 1, the Aston Martin. Let's see how he gets on. Here we go, first flying lap. So turn 1, tricky right-hander, kind of drop the car down to second or third, and then you kind of dab on the brakes for turn 2. This is where the back end can step out, and you can get a little bit of oversteer, and cut this corner as you go down to the double right-hander hairpin. Most cars will be first gear around here, but you upshift early to second, get the car right, flick it to the left, and don't run the car too wide on the exit off turn 6. So straight run down now to the hairpin of turn 8, braking at the 100-metre board to the right hand side as far as possible. Again, on the throttle early, use the traction control, bring the car out wide, not too wide. That looked a little wide from Ben. I'm not sure where the track limits are on that particular corner. So probably the trickiest corner on the circuit, trying to get the car braking in a straight line, and again early on the throttle, such a key corner for getting the speed down the back end straight now. Really got to nail that corner. If you go too deep, you're just going to really compromise the straight line speed. And then again, one of the hardest corners on this track, the very fast braking turn 13. So down the first gear again, early on the traction. Don't put the car too far left. Put it to the right, flick it left. You can cut the corner quite nicely here. And you're probably braking in around about the 100 metre again, down to second, sometimes third, depending on the car. And let's see what time Ben Milding in the number 1 Aston Martin does. And it is a 36.1, so a fairly slow lap, as you would expect. Starker goes with a 35.2. Just trying to bring you some cars as they cross the line. David in the 303 Ferrari as he comes around to finish his first flying lap. It's a nice looking Ferrari, that nice livery there. David actually didn't set a time out, so it must have been track limits there. So we'll jump on board to the 888 Porsche King of the Hills and see what he can do as he crosses the finish line. Again, King of the Hills doesn't set a last time at that, that could have been his out lap. If it is, I do apologise. We'll jump on board to the 444. So drivers are starting to set the times now. Got about 9 drivers with the time. Ben's now coming around for his second flying lap to see if he can improve on his first time, which he does. Storico shortly follows into P2. So Jetpacker here, got a couple of cars ahead of him, he's got a bit of traffic here, he's either going to have to back off or he's flashing his lights. Driver should be getting out of the way if he's on a flying lap. He's going to be held up here, going to be losing all this time. Stuck behind the number, is that a number 4 Ferrari? Yeah, it was Shamsho, I believe. And he's flashing his lights. And he's having to back off there as that's his flying lap compromised for a Jetpacker. We'll jump on board to Storico in the 37 Aston. The times are really starting to come in thick and fast now. Take you for a quick look at the timetable. So we got Jetpacker with a 34.3 as a rapid time, Storico with a 34.6, David with a 35 flat, Rob with a 35.1, and Shamso with P5 with a 35.3. So that's the top 5 so far. Let's just jump on Ben's stop on track there. Back to the pits, got a couple of drivers running wide there. Still got the 444 Mercedes Cool Racing, not yet set a time. We'll be under pressure now to get a couple of laps in with 7 minutes remaining. As Rob goes into P2 there with a 34.4, 34.5, and 10th off. And Cully Racing does get a time in. He goes straight from 18th straight up to P4, his first flying lap, with 5-6 tenths off. So we'll get back on board with Jetpacker, see if we can improve his time with a 34.3. See how he takes some of these corners. We'll stick with him for this flying lap. Car keeping out the way nicely there, well done. Lovely camera angle that as the cars come through the right-hander. Drivers really taking the as much of the track as they can on the right-hand side, really getting the car over the curbs on the right-hand side to kind of open up that entry and early throttle for turn 8. Jetpacker getting a little bit squiggly there. Just took a little bit too much bite out of that inside curve with the Lamborghini, was not having any of that. Don't think he went over track limits, but certainly would have lost a tenth, I'd imagine. And that certainly is going to be an invalid lap on the last corner. So Cool Racing, I think we're going to say with it as Cool. I don't actually know his name, so we'll say with Cool Racing. He's gone up to P2, under a tenth now. Really close time, really good time. He's coming back out with 4 minutes remaining. We then have Rob in P3, 10th off, so really close. Top 5 here. I'd say, anybody's got a shout with pole position. You can be half a second off, and you can easily find that if you haven't got the maximum out of the car yet. So I think this is still very open, certainly with the top 3 anyway. So Jetpack is currently in the pits, just probably getting ready for a final couple of laps. Go on board with Cool Racing, see if we can find that ever such extra time to take pole position here. It's just under 3 minutes remaining. Let's see if we can find that extra tenth or two to take pole. Oh, he's not going to find the extra tenth or two out there running over those sleeping policemen. So that's going to be a scrap lap. And go on board with Rob to see how he's getting on as he comes around. We're not sure if he's on a flying lap here, but we'll stick with him for the rest of the final few corners to see if he does manage to improve his time. And Rob does. Rob goes into provisional pole with a 34.3 cracking time there. So look at the top 3 there, guys. That's what the times are so close. Under a tenth of the top 3. This could be a cracking race if the race pace is similar to some of the times here. We'll stay on board with Jetpacker. I think he's still on that scrap lap. So the 444 Mercedes, Cool Racing, as he starts his, probably his final, yeah, it will be his final lap, given the time remaining. Jetpack is just crossing the line. We'll just quickly flip to him to see if he manages to improve. He's going to have time for another flying lap. He doesn't, so it's all down to this final lap then, guys. Just trying to see where Rob is on the telemetry. He's coming around the final corner, so he's probably going to get time as well to have one final lap. We'll just stay on board just for the next 15 seconds to see if he does improve, and then we'll go back to Cool Racing, the 444 Merc. He doesn't, so that's Rob starting his final lap. Jetpacker seems to have, he's back in the pit, so he's either run out of fuel or he has probably most likely made an error on that final lap. So that is Jetpacker in P2 minimum, or maximum shall I say. So Cool Racing, 444 Merc, coming around the final few corners. This is going to be it. This is and he's abandoned it. It's that's the white flag for Cool Racing. So that is Rob. In provisional pole, there is obviously still drivers to still come through, but it will take a cracking lap now from either the likes of David or Storico. Just go on board with Storico to see if he can find 4 attempts to get a pole position, but it's looking like Rob 2K is going to take the pole position here at Misano for round 2 of the Pure SimGear Super Sunday, round 2. But we'll stay on board with Storico for this remaining lap, as you'll see from the UI on the left hand side of your screens. The majority of the drivers have finished, as they all are back in the pit. We've got a couple of drivers still on flying laps, so we will pick that up on the feed if we can. But for now we'll stay on board with Storico, given the fact that he is 3.5 tenths off P1. Okay, that's it then guys, that's the top 5. So we've got Rob with a pole position with 34.3, Jetpacker in 2nd, Cool Racing in 3rd, David in 4th, and Storico in P5. Then we've got Marty in 6th, GT Jamie in 7th, Shamso 8th, King of the Hills 9th, Moss in 10th, and then your 11th place is Andy. Then you've got Ben Ben down in P12 in the Aston. That is a surprising time. I'm sure a few others, if you're joining us on the live stream, I think we were quite surprised at Ben being down in 12th. So potentially struggling on that Aston. Anyway, 13th is Pinnacle, 14th is Johnny Renwick, 15th is Clates, the Am-Tier winner from Taco Tuesdays last season. Really quick driver in 15th, Nico in 16th, Chris in 17th, Darren in 18th. So that is your grid. Really close top 3 there. I think we're on for an absolute cracking race here, guys. I hope so anyway. So I'll be back with you in a couple of minutes guys as we get ready for the first sprint race of tonight. Okay guys, welcome to the live stream of the first of 2 sprint races tonight from round 2 of the PlayStation 5 Pro Tier Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday. That was a lot of words for me to get out in one sentence, but I managed to nail it. So, as you'll find on the left hand side of your screen, we've got the grid all lined up, 20 seconds to go. We've got a formation lap to come, and then we'll be green flagged. I think we've got an absolute cracking race in store tonight with the qualifying times or anything to go by. So if you are watching live, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, etc. Feel free to leave any comments. I can see them coming in. I'll do my best to answer any questions or feedback, etc. So we're underway for the formation lap, guys. Key lap to really get those tyre pressures up. A couple of tricks the drivers can do on this lap to bring the tyres into the right range. But we see Rob in the car number 75 leading them away as he just backs them up slightly, as we've got Darren at the back only just coming around turn 2. So the drivers make their way down the back straight, probably be on the brakes, getting the tyres warmed up. As you see the cars weaving, great camera shot there. It's quite a slow out lap, it must be said. It's quite a slow formation lap so far from Rob. So the cars were getting ready to go into their Noah's Ark 2x2 formation. As Jetpacker is very keen on the inside there, the cars are having to just get into position. So here we go, guys. Round 2 from Misano, race 1. As the drivers come round the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Fingers crossed, everyone keeps it clean. There's no accidents, everyone gets away cleanly. We wait for the lights to change from red to green. And we go. Here we're off. Let's go. So Jetpacker's got a fantastic start. I think Jetpacker's already gone into turn 1 first place. Late on the brakes though, Rob. Jetpacker takes the lead into turn 2. Everyone files the way round. We've got a green flag, yellow flag somewhere at the back, but everyone looks like they've got away nicely. We'll stay on board with the front 3 for the first few corners. But a fantastic start from Jetpacker there in the Lamborghini and 25 Lambo. Really was quick when the green flag dropped. It's a cool racing in the background there, running a little bit wide. That may compromise him. Storica is right behind him in the 88 Mercedes, but no one is doing a dive down the inside just yet. Got car number 15 at the back there off. But we'll stay on board with the front runners just for the first lap. I'll just quickly nip down the order now as they come down the back straight. So Cool Racing in 3rd, Storica in 4th, David in 5th, GT Jamie in 6th in the Lamborghini, Marty in 7th, Milden in 8th. Milden's had a great start. I think he was qualified P11 or P12. He's already a couple of positions up. As we've got the Triple Eight or King of the Hills side by side. We've got a car off there. Not sure which car that was. It looks like it was potentially Darren. No, it was the 91 of Moss. What went off? So the back of the grid, really throwing up some close bumper to bumper racing as the cars get round to complete lap 1. So I believe it was actually Clates, could have been the car that went off. 500 BMW. We've got a car that has just gone off into the shallow round. He's probably going to have severe whiplash and probably feeling worse than my hangover after that impact. I think that was car number 15, Pinnacle. He's already boxed. That's probably going to be a retirement given the damage of that car. Anyway, we'll stay on board with this. We've got cars side by side. We've got Andy and King of the Hills going into the double right-hander hairpin. Really close action at the back of the grid here. We have to stay on board with this. I think they all seem to be getting held up by, well, this group is led by Ben in the number 1 Aston, and there's already a gap already to P7 Marty. The top 7 are really breaking away here, but Ben is leading this train along. And we'll just jump back on board to Jetpacker to see how he's getting on in pole position. As you'll see here, the gap to Rob is 2 seconds. We've got Crawley in 3rd, Storico 4th, David in 5th, Jamie 6th, Marty in 7th, and then as you'll see, this second group of cars, 8th, Shamto 9th, Johnny 10th, Andy 11th, King of the Hills 12th, and Nico in 13th. So, a couple of opening laps from Jetpacker, already extending that gap to 1.4 seconds. Really impressive start so far from Jetpacker. Top 4 drivers really close together here. Cool Racing is only just 0.4 seconds under behind Rob and Jetpacker as he sets the fastest lap, I believe, Jetpacker. So we'll stay on board here as we've got Storico and David with the purple lap, beg your pardon, all closely following each other here. We'll stay on board with these guys. As we've got Rob, who I believe has gone wide, gone deep into that corner. That's really going to compromise him going in to the straight. So this could be a pivotal moment of the race as we head down into turn 8. Who is going to send it up the inside, or they're going to be sensible? So Rob goes to the inside to defend, call to the outside. David comes in with a Ferrari in the background, and David seems to have got the inside of Storico. Really fantastic racing here from 2nd to 5th. All this, meanwhile, Jetpacker will be like, thank you guys, keep squabbling away, I'm just going to romp up the road in the Lamborghini. As you'll see, just that lap alone, he seems to have extended his gap by about a second. It was 1.3 at the start of this lap, it's now 2.1 if the UI is correct. So Rob seems to be struggling here for pace so early on. Bentley maybe just, now Cool Racing really goes wide. That's going to really struggle, that's going to cost him a couple of positions. Hope he doesn't collect David on the inside. David, so yeah, Cool there, just going wide at the final couple of corners, has cost himself 2 places, so he falls down to 4th place. But as I was saying, Rob appears to be struggling for pace early on. You know, look, Storico and David and Cool certainly do appear to be slightly faster so far. But we'll see how that progresses. Just going to quickly flick back down to P8 in Ben, because Ben really is leading a bit of a train at the moment. It's hard to ignore the back of the grid. I say back of the grid, it's currently P8, so it's not exactly the back of the grid, but got a real group of cars following each other here. Ben going defensive early on to the inside, going down into turn 8. Can Shamsho get a run on the outside? I think the outside is favoured on this corner, given the fact that you can get on the power really early. But as much as Shamso is looking to attack the number 1 Aston Martin, he's got to watch out for Johnny in the number 60 McLaren, who's likewise got to watch out for Andy in the BMW. As Shamso goes deep into the corner, that's really going to cost him a couple of places. And we're now going to look like we're going to be 3 wide, or at least 2 wide, going down into the Cavoni turns 11 and 12, this is going to end either very good or very bad for these guys. There's a little bit of contact there, a little bit of door bashing going on. And they were exchanging numbers there. So, is this a case of Ben not being quite quick enough and holding these guys up? We don't know. And the guys are just trying to find the rhythm. It's only a 30-minute sprint race, so it is literally just go for it. As we see Johnny really putting on the pressure on now, really pushing that Aston Martin around the first couple of corners. Potentially got a run here going into turn 4, Rio. Side by side here. This is as Ben's going to the inside. This is absolutely fantastic racing. We've got 3 cars going into turn 8 here, guys. So looks like Andy in the BMW, I believe, has got ahead. Yes, it has. Andy has got ahead to P8, I'm going to say. The UI's a little bit... Ben's really struggling, the Aston Martin. A little bit of contact as well with the drivers. This is, again, another lap where we're going to have cars, 4 or 5 of them, just all over the place going into the Cavoni double right-handers. King of the Hills here now amongst it as well in the 888 Porsche. This is absolutely cracking racing. It's like go-karts at the moment. As we've got a spinner as well, let's just try and find out who that was. That looks like it's car number 60, which was Johnny. Johnny was, that's so unfortunate, and we've got a banged up McLaren there as well, that Ferrari. It was, we've got Darren who's looking like that's another MOT failure for Ferrari mechanics. But we'll go back on board as we've got Ben and Shamso who went wide, or went deep a couple of laps ago, is now back up, putting the pressure on to Milden. Misano really is throwing up a little bit of a Sunday stormer here at the moment. So again, for the 3rd lap running, we've got Ben leading them into Quesia, turn 8, as no one goes down the inside at the moment. And then we've got Nico and Chris here, who are having their own little battle. So we'll just quickly go back up to the top. As you will see, Rob has now seemed to have found the pace and pushed that Bentley down the road. He's a couple of seconds ahead of Storico in P3, but likewise a couple of seconds behind Jetpacker. So Jetpacker gap hasn't really been extended in the last couple of laps. You know, Rob seems to have found the rhythm now, so we'll keep an eye on that gap as the next 10 minutes or so ticks down. So Storico P3, David P4, Cool Racing in 5th, who made a mistake a few laps ago and cost him a couple of places, but he's hot on the tail of David in the Ferrari. GT Jamie not far behind him. And again, going back to probably the second train, so to speak. Ben leading them yet again. This is really good racing. I bet the streams of these drivers live will be a cracking watch. Shamsho is going to be all over Ben here, but it looks like, to be fair, Moss is going to be all over Shamsho as well. As he does, he goes to the inside here, the Audi, the 91 Audi going to the inside of turn 8. And is he going to make the move on Shamsho? He is. They're side by side. Is he going to push Shamsho to the outside? He is. A really good, respectful race, leaving each other space. He's going to have the run up the hill. I say hill, isn't really much of a hill to be honest, but so the right-hander now, Shamsho comes back. The two drivers exchanging positions there. As you will see as well, the 888 Porsche of King of the Hills is saying, "Hi guys, I'm here as well." going to jump on board to Nico here in the 218 Audi. As Darren appears to have got a stop and go penalty. That's unfortunate for Darren. So anyway, we're on board with Nico, who's got Chris hot on his heels as we head into turn 1. Battling for P13 here. Going to go back on board with Milden, who has got, yet again, he's got company going into turn 8. There's 3 cars going in here. We've got Milden, we've got Shamsha, we've got Moss by the looks of it. Both gone defensive. Shamsha has gone wide. Well, it's only took the outside of the corner. This is absolutely fantastic racing. We've got Shamsha, we've got Moss side by side. We've got King of the Hills. He's keeping interested. He's probably hoping that they take each other out. He'll just sail through and waving to him as it goes by. So we'll stay on board with these guys. Absolutely fantastic racing. Shamsho's all over the back of Ben. As Shamsho cuts that corner a little bit too much. Ben goes wide. Moss right behind them. I don't even know where to start with this commentating, to be honest. I think just sit back and just see what happens with these 5 cars. Can't keep up with the position changes and what's going on. Then they're running that close together, they'll be exchanging paint. So Storico in P3 really under pressure now from David and Cool Racing. I'll just stick on board with these 3 for a moment. Got a Bentley going wide there. In fact, was that Rob going wide? Or was it Jetpacker? Jetpacker's obviously made a mistake because he is certainly under pressure from Rob. So that I thought that was the Bentley going wide, but it may have been the Lamborghini, it may have been my eyes deceiving me. I am hungover, so more than likely. We've really got quite a spread field at the moment. We've got the top 2 guys, you know, with a 3-second gap. Then we've got a group of 3 cars, and then we've got Marty, who's probably having a very boring race. He's on his own. He's what, 4 seconds down the road from Cool, but then 7 seconds up the road from Jamie. So he's on his own. We've then got GT Jamie as well, likewise running on his own. Car 16, which is Andy in P8 running on his own. But then you've got the train, which is Ben Milden downwards, of Shamsha, of Nico, of Moss, of King of the Hills, of Chris. You've got it all happening. You've got 2 races going on here. You've got 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and then you've got these guys battling it all up from 10th to 14th. The next 14 minutes is going to be like this. Then we're going to need another coffee at the interval between race 1 and 2. As we see, Pinnacle's got a drive-through penalty there down in 18th. So Darren and Pinnacle really struggling there with penalties. So just over halfway into this race, guys. It's been an absolute cracking race so far. We've had 15 or 16 minutes of just pure bumper car go-karting racing here with these drivers just following each other corner through corner. And you know, I think it takes a different level of concentration when you're following each other so closely like this. You've got to brake slightly earlier, and you've got to be, on the throttle a little bit later, maybe, just to kind of keep it nice and clean. So the fact that we've got 7 or 8 cars just following this close is just really good driving from everyone involved. Looks like King of the Hills is pushing Chris around the corner there in the Porsche. Axel, a huge crash in F1. Please don't say anything, because I'm going to actually watch it on record later on. I'm one of those people who likes to watch it on record, so I'll be watching it after the race if I don't fall asleep. But if there's a huge crash, then I certainly will be tuning in for that. No, that's fine, mate. No need to apologise at all. It's good to know actually something's happened, isn't it? Nothing's happened. Okay. As we see Ben, oh, there's a bit of contact there. The cars going around. We've got 2 cars going around. Fantastic recovery there from Moss to get that McLaren Audi spun around so quickly. So I'm not sure what happened there. I was just looking at this live chat, so unfortunately I missed that live dive. But yeah, no, we've got a couple of cars going around. Hopefully that was just racing. In fact, I've got Ben Milden's live stream up on my laptop, so I'm just going to have a quick look here to see what happened. So Jetpacker seems to, after a little bit of a scare, bit of a lap, seems to have extended that gap up to 1.7 again. But as you'll see here, we've got Cool Racing all over the back of Storico in the Aston Martin and AMG. It says an Aston Martin. I keep saying it's Aston Martin, but it's quite clearly not an Aston Martin. It's clearly an Audi. I think the UI is clearly bugged for Storico. He's certainly not in an Aston Martin. That is an Audi. So just watched the stream back from Milden. It looks like he got touched by Nico going into one of the fast right-handers. I believe it was turn maybe 12, sorry, turn 13 on the braking zone. He got touched by Nico, which then he then got touched again by Moss, which spun him round. So yeah, a bit of I think it's a racing incident, given the fact that the cars are so close together. I don't think you can be surprised there was contact. Obviously the stewards will be looking at that if the drivers do feel the need to. As I think we've got another car that's gone round there, I've just managed to join at the right time. We've got car number, I don't know, we've got the Audi and the BMW. It looks like car number 79, which is Chris and Nico. I guess it looks like Nico's certainly exchanging paint with people, as you can see from the front of that Audi. Looks like it looks like it's been sat out on the rain too long and the paintwork's starting to drip off. So I was about to say Clates, who I think was started P15 or P16, has worked himself up to P10, so quite a clean race for Clates so far. So guys, 8 minutes left. As you'll see, top 5: Jetpacker, Rob, Storico, Cool Racing and Marty. But the action does not stop there. We've got a really close race between the drivers of the top 10. Chris has really thrown that beamer around the final corner. Is he going to have to run on Nico? Goes to the inside. That's probably not the best idea in this corner. He's on the brakes heavy. Looks like he's had a better line through turn one though. But Nico has managed to keep it on the track so far. So the field really is spread out now. Considering it's only a half an hour race, we've got drivers all over the track, and the trains are just starting to turn into single carriages really. Here we are, the race leader, Jetpack at 2.7 now. May look fairly comfortable from the camera angle, but he's only under 3 seconds. So just one mistake, then that can be the first place loss. And we don't know where these drivers are as well with track limits. Drivers could be on 2 warnings, 3 warnings, we don't know. Don't get that information available on console. I'm not sure if you get it available on PC, but we certainly don't get it here. So you just don't know what is happening inside of those cars in terms of track warnings either. We'll make our way through the field. It's Rob in P2. Cool Racing seems to have, I must have missed that overtake, so apologies, missed it on track, but Cool Racing's moved up to third now. He was on the back of Storico for a few laps. Storico, the 37 Audi. Marty in P5, having a lonely race, but a consistent race. David in 6th. Andy in 7th, GT Jamie in 8th in the Lamborghini, Shamso P9 and Clates P10. Nico and Chris yet again are like a couple on a first date. They are refusing to let each other out of their sights. We'll stay on board with these two, given the fact they probably are the closest battle on track at the moment. As Chris is going to go round, there's a little bit of a tank slapper going on there. That's unfortunate for Chris. I think he had took too much of a bite out of that inside curb, and that's going to send the BMW around. Unfortunate for Chris because he was close to Nico there. That's actually going to put him in trouble now with Pinnacle in P15. So, as we head into the final 5 minutes of this race, drivers, the madness seems to have died down a little bit. We've had 20 minutes of just pure bumper to bumper action, but it has appeared just to die down a little bit as the gaps are starting to appear. But anything can still happen as we head into the final 4 minutes of the first of 2 races tonight. Tell you what, if the second race is anything like this one, then I'm going to need to lie down at the end of tonight. Probably a chocolate digestive and a strong cup of tea, I reckon, to watch the F1 with. I sound like an old man, don't I, when I say that? Chocolate digestive and a cup of tea. Can assure you I'm not old. I'm just extremely hungover from Friday night, nursing a 2-day hangover. So let's see where we can go to next and just see where the battle of are. We've got cars 79 and 15, which is Chris and Pinnacle, probably the closest together so far, looking at the driver tracker. So considering the standings and the fact that we haven't got AMS unfortunately not here tonight, if the results do stay like this, so in terms of the podium positions of Jetpacker, Robin, Cool Racing and Storico, it must be said, it'll be very interesting because Jetpacker finished 5th last week. He's 11 points behind, so a win here would really do nicely for him. Likewise Storico, who is second in the championship with 74 points. So Storico and Jetpacker and Rob as well, so 3 of those drivers repeating their kind of rough grid positions from last week at Imola. So this will be really good for them in terms of the start of the championship. It is unfortunate that AMS isn't racing tonight, as it would have been really interesting to see where his pace was compared to these guys. So guys, hope you've enjoyed so far the coverage of the first race. Please don't forget to leave a like, whack that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and if you are new to the Formula Racing League FRL community, then please do get involved on the Discord server. These are community racing on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 and PC. We have league races throughout the week. We've got the pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday, which you're watching now.
Right, man. Leader is on the final lap.
And we have Taco Tuesdays on, as you can guess it, on a Tuesday, amongst other races held. There's late night races throughout the week as well. So please do get involved, join the Discord, say hello. And if you are already a part of FRL and you're thinking about how else can you support the running of the leagues, of the servers, etc., please do check out the Patreon options available. Just as little as £3 a month you can become a Patreon member, enter the weekly prize draw. There's various other benefits to the membership structure as well. The subscriptions go a long way to supporting the admin team, the server costs, and the buying of my chocolate digestive biscuits. So Jetpacker on the final lap of the race, can he bring it home? Which would be a opening win from race 1 here at Misano. As he comes around the final corner, the checkered flag will be out. It's being waved as car number 25, the Lamborghini of Jetpack Nebula, comes through to win. Cracking win there. We're going to have Rob coming through in second in the 75 Bentley. Cool Racing crossing the line in the 444 Mercedes to take third. Storico coming home in fourth. A real lonely but strong race from Marty in P5. David coming home in 6th. Andy in 7th. GT Jamie under late pressure here from Shamsho, but he's going to get the run and finish. So unfortunately I missed that on the last lap. I didn't quite realise they were so close together, so apologies I didn't bring you that battle, but 8th and 9th from those two. King of the Hill in the 888 Porsche. Cracking race from King of the Hill. I bet his onboard stream is going to be a good watch later on. He really was witnessing some fantastic battles earlier on in the first 50 minutes or so. Moss in 11th. Shortly followed by Nico in 12th. I was just making sure he wasn't going to bin that on the final corner. Looking like he was for a minute there. There's a car going wide there. Not sure who that is. That's potentially Pinnacle. I think it is Pinnacle. I think that is. Chris is going to come home in 13th. Pinnacle 14th. Johnny 15th. Close end there for those three guys. And Clates has obviously made a mistake. Again, I've missed that on the stream. He was 10th at one point in the race. going to come through in P16, who was the AM tier champion from Taco Tuesdays last year. I raced with him in Taco Tuesdays, really fast driver. But P15 for Clates. And then we've got Johnny in 16th, Ben in 17th. Again, he was running. I know he had damage. Maybe it was a little bit too terminal for him. I don't know. He's finished in 17th with an early retirement, and Darren in 18th. So that's your race 1, guys. I hope you enjoyed the race. Race 2 coming up in a couple of minutes. So grab yourself a refreshment, get the kettle on, and I'll see you back here in a couple of minutes' time for race 2 from Misano in the Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday, round 2. So if you are just joining us, guys, we are just in between race 1 and 2. After an absolute thrilling race 1, that really was some good action. I think for a good 20 minutes we had 2 trains going on, as the final 10 minutes did seem to span out a little bit in terms of on-track action, but the 20 minutes of that was just absolutely phenomenal racing. There was a couple of incidents which hopefully wasn't too bad for the drivers. Hopefully they were just racing incidents, but we'll see after the race. But can't fault the action we saw in race 1. I can only hope race 2 is going to throw up a repeat of that. It is the same grid for race 2, for those wondering. There is no reverse grid format or anything like that. It's just a straight race again from the qualifying round. So as you will see, you will have Rob in pole, with Jetpacker in 2nd and Cool Racing in 3rd. Rob will be hoping to get a better start compared to the first race, where I think he got passed by Jetpacker even before the braking zone of turn 1, where he was just running a couple of miles per hour below the speed limit as the green flag dropped. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see how he does at the start of this one. So just a minute or so before we get underway with the formation lap, as you'll see the cars bobbing up and down as the drivers make adjustments to any setups and fuel loads, etc., tyres, before they will be clicking drive to go onto the track.
30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Okay guys, we are underway for the formation lap of race 2 as Rob leads them away. So hopefully the drivers remember to change their tyre sets. No one is running on scrub tyres. Everyone's got their heart rate back down to normal. I say that, got back down to normal after a thrilling race 1, but you know the drivers, their heart rates are probably going back up again at the start of the race. But they've had a few minutes in between the races to grab a drink, get themselves set, shake off any race 1 shenanigans, get themselves back in the right frame of mind for race 2. I think between Rob and Jetpacker, I think the pace was, I would say, fairly consistent. You know, the gap was 2-3 seconds in the end. It didn't really increase or decrease that much, so I would say they both got similar race pace. However, what would be interesting if Rob can maintain P1 for the first couple of laps, as we saw from race 1 where Jetpacker got the run on him into turn 1. It'll be interesting to see what Jetpacker's pace is like compared to Rob behind him. So that could be an interesting angle on it. We'll see how it goes. So drivers there just weaving on the back straight just to get those tyres into the right window. As we have Sham's show. Looks like he's going through the McDonald's drive-thru in the background there. Hopefully that wasn't a disconnect. No, looks like he's just had a moment there. So, as always, the Noah's Ark 2x2 formation as the drivers come round the final few corners. Let's hope they can sort themselves out a little bit. It's always like the start of the Grand National, isn't it? This part of the formation lap when the drivers and the cars are trying to get themselves all sorted out. As we approach the flag, approach the final corner, shall I say. So can Rob get a better start this time round? We're about to find out. Race 2 of the Pure SimGear Sunday, round 2 on the PlayStation 5 ACC FRL. Let's see what it's got in store for us as the drivers approach green flag, and it's green, 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 away we go. So again, Jetpacker with another fantastic start, but Rob's this time is later on the brakes, down the inside. Rob does maintain P1, sorry. We'll stick aboard with Rob for the first few corners as Jetpacker's giving a little bit of a flash there, a flash of the lights, I must add. So a better start from Rob. Can he get a good exit down the straight as we head into turn 8? As we've got cars side by side. As we just, they're just trying to get the UI sorted out there as drivers are all flicking all over the place. So Rob is leading the race from P1, Jetpacker in P2, Cool in 3rd, David 4th, Storico 5th. Looks like car 218, which is Nico's, had an incident on lap 1. If he's right back, maybe he started from the pit lane, I can't quite remember, but he's had a right back there. But anyway, everyone has got away cleanly from the opening lap. couple of cars going wide there. Pinnacle going wide. Let's open the door for Johnny down the inside. Johnny's going to make now on the outside, but he's got the position. As Darren's gone wide with the Ferrari and gone wide again. He's doing a little bit of a show for the fans there in the final few corners. He wouldn't have meant that. So let's get back on board with Rob. As Cool Racing sets the fastest lap of the opening. Well, I say that, I don't know why I mentioned that, because that's not going to tumble down the leaderboard. Johnny Renwick got the fastest lap for the race for the opening lap. So, Rob, can he push this gap? What is his pace going to be like out front? He wasn't in this position in race 1. He found himself looking at the number 25 Lamborghini of Jetpacker, but it is now roles reversal for race 2. As again, we have no incidents on the opening of lap 2. Everyone's got away cleanly. Jetpacker really on the tail here of Rob, really pushing him around this final few corners. We're going to stay on board with these two because this is for the lead. They're already getting a little bit of a gap to Cool Racing. Can the 444 Mercedes keep with these two? As Jetpacker goes a little bit wide, that's going to lose him a couple of attempts down the straight. As the great Murray Walker once said, Rob must be sweating buckets in there. As Jetpacker really close behind now. What kind of exit can they get from the fast left-hander? Looks like Rob had the better line. He goes a little bit to the left of the track, a little bit defensive move from Rob already. Jetpacker goes to the outside. Jetpacker's going to go into this corner with a bit of a wider angle. Is that going to get the better drive out of this? I think it is. Flashing the lights again. This is going to be really close now, as Jetpacker is practically pushing that Bentley down the straight, but the Bentley is quick in the straight line. Let's hopefully they can get their braking point spot on. As Jetpacker goes a little bit wide, that's going to be a track warning, I'll imagine. I think Jetpacker certainly is looking the racier of the two so far. As he darts to the outside, but I'll be surprised if he does the remove on the outside of turn 1. As Jetpacker goes down the inside and touches Rob. That's unfortunate. I haven't got... Oh, Rob's made contact again with a car. That was unfortunate. Just try and make heads or tails of what happened there. It looked like Jetpacker had a bit of a sniff down the inside. It's probably a very risky location to do that, given the fact that it's such a tight corner in first gear. The door may have been open, we don't know. But this has now put us in a position where we've got cars all over the place. And it's going to be an absolute nightmare for me to commentate on. But great for you guys watching. However, what that has meant, as Cool Racing and the 444 Mercedes have gone, thank you very much guys, you can't park there on the apex, I will come flying through and take that off you. See you later. He won't be complaining. That's also meant GT Jamie got up to 2nd place. Rob has managed to stabilise it to third, but how much damage is he going to run as he goes wide? As he dives into the pits, he's going to have too much damage by the looks of it. That's unfortunate for Rob. Looks like he did have two contacts. We don't know who else bumped into him on the apex. That's Jetpacker now all over the back of Storico. Again, how much damage is he going to have? I imagine a couple of seconds. As Andy is getting interested with Jetpacker. Yet again, we're seeing repeat a lap of race 1 where we've just got a train of cars just bumper to bumper. Ben is having a good start to this race as well, gaining from the bad luck above us up to P8, and he's got the King of the Hills right behind him, and Sham Show's there as well in the white Ferrari. So, if you're just joining us and you're wondering what's happened to the pole sitter Rob, unfortunately he had an incident with Jetpacker going into turn, where am I on my corner list? Turn 4, which I believe is Rio, and he's had too much damage, and he's now got a stop-go penalty as well. That really is an absolute nightmare start of the race for Rob. But that is racing. These things can happen. And that Lamborghini for Jetpacker really is looking a bit of a handful now as he goes wide again on the final corner, but he's currently in P4. He's got past Storico as Andy sends it up the inside, and I think they've made contact. There's drivers all over the place now. Andy, I think, look, he made contact with Storico. That's going to let Mildred, King of the Hills and Shamshow all through, and Johnny Runwick. So Ben now up to 5th. This is a much better second race for Ben in the number 1 Aston Martin. But it looks like it was Storico who must have hit Rob, because front of that Audi is flapping around like a piece of washing on the clothesline in a storm. He's clearly struggling for pace as he's got King of the Hills and the Triple Eight Porsche all over the back of him. But as we go after the first 10 minutes of this race, our race leader is Cool Racing in the 444 Mercedes, and as he sets the fastest lap of the race, with a gap of 4.7 seconds as well. It's a really good start. But as we just see Marty here as well, who I believe finished P5, had a lonely race in race 1. He's certainly not having a lonely race right now, as he's all over the back of Jetpacker. Or shall I say, Jetpacker, who must have just come through, as the Jetpacker was showing us fourth. Oh, it's GT Jamie, apologies, I was getting mixed up. The two Lamborghinis looking extremely similar there. As GT Jamie, Lamborghini's the back end is saying no thank you, I'm not going to have any of that on the traction out of the corner, but that's going to compromise him. And he's gone deep as well, that's going to compromise him. So the two Lamborghinis sporting this very same livery, I'm not... Side by side here, the two Lambos. Which Lambo's going to get the better of them? It looks like it's going to be Jetpacker. GT Jamie gets a drive-through, must be for track limits already after only 12 minutes. That is, well, you can't blame him for pushing the limits. So Marty finds himself in second now, but he's all under pressure from Jetpacker and Jamie, but he's now going to have that drive-through. And our championship winner from last season, Ben, is going to benefit from that, but he's got the very fast Sham show, apologies, I can get the words out, all over him in the number 4 Ferrari. So it looks like Rob's coming in for his stop-go. That's really unfortunate for our pole sitter. That's Jetpacker yet again. Does like a good light flash. Only as he's made contact with Marty, and Marty span round, and again that's going to open the door to GT Jamie. He's got a drive-through, but the one driver who's going to benefit from all this madness is going to be Ben Milden in the number 1 Aston. And Shams show as GT Jamie dives into the pit lane to do his drive-through. Let's see where he emerges. So Jetpacker, he's certainly getting involved, isn't he? Let's just say that. And he does go into P2 though. Milden out to 3rd. Ben, who I think finished 17th or 16th last race, is having a much better second race. All this is happening while Cool Racing is just storming up the road with a lead of 10 seconds. So Marty, who was running in second, is now unfortunately running in P8, and he's got King of the Hills and Johnny Renwick in the 60 McLaren, keeping him keen. Just jump on board to car number 15 here, because car number 15, which is Pinnacle, has got Chris in the BMW on him like a rash. As Pinnacle takes quite a lot of inside curve there, but doesn't seem to have compromised the McLaren at all. So trainer cars here, which is led by Storico, who I believe is carrying damage from an earlier incident on lap 3. And he's certainly forming the head of a train, as Andy. Is he going down the inside? No. He's
We are halfway through, not over yet.
going to try and set the car up for the exit of this corner to get a run down the straight into turn 8. I think he's a little bit too far behind to make a move. As we have David there in the Ferrari, having a look in the inside. We've got a car off as well, a little bit of door banging going on there. As we now have Andy and Marty, the 2 BMWs, side by side, going in to the final sector. Heavy braking zone, such a tricky corner to get right. So as we start this lap. Let's just have a bit of a refresh of the top 10. We've got Cool Racing in first, Jetpacker in second with the fastest lap, Milden in third, Shamto fourth, who we'll just briefly stay on board with. We'll just pause our top 10 trip rundown as we see what Shamto can do heading into turn 8, which is the long and slow left-hander. Storico in 5th, got a Marty in 6th, Andy 7th, King of the Hill 8th, David in 9th, Clate 10th, and that's your top 10, guys. As we have, is that David? Oh, look at one of the BMWs, thing with Andy's apologies. Andy getting out of shape there. I think he's lost himself position to King of the Hills. He has. King of the Hills has got past him there with the exit of turn 8. Andy didn't get a good traction, didn't get a good exit, and BMW did not like that. We'll stay on board with these guys. Storico's on the outside. Marty has now got, yeah, that's a fantastic move from Marty there. He's got past the Audi, so that's Marty up to P5. We really are seeing a repeat of race 2 here. Race 1, sorry. I've had a couple more incidents compared to race 1, but one thing is for sure, we've got bumper to bumper racing yet again, and this is what this sprint format can produce, especially on a track like Misano, as we've got David and Andy side by side, King of the Hills as well. Andy's gone a little bit wide, the BMW yet again stepping out on the exit of turn 8, where he's got quite a low traction control, or the car's just having a hit of oversteer. I think that's Clates as well, showing interest. Our Taco Tuesday tier AM champion, having a much better race this time round. He's a rapid guy, Clates, as he moves up to P9. So, gap's just starting to form a little bit. The train has expanded ever so slightly, a few tenths, as we come round to start another lap. Our race leader here, Cool Racing, nicely controlled out front thus far. Gap has come down a little bit. 9 seconds now to Jetpacker. Must be said he has been involved in a couple of incidents, so we'll see if that puts him in the on the naughty list of the stewards or not. We'll find out after the race. Milden is yet again under pressure from Shamsha. These two have been together pretty much for the last 5 minutes. Ben will be getting sick to death of the sight of that white Ferrari in the in his rear view mirror. As we see in the background as the cars come down the straight, we've got Marty, we've got Storico, we've got King of the Hills, we've got Andy, all leading this train. Drivers here, when you're following so closely behind, you just throw your car just slightly put your car into the inside, try and spook the driver ahead of you, try and put them off. It doesn't really work with these pro drivers, but just we've got a car in the background there. Who is that? That is Clates going off. I've done the commentator's curse there, and I only a lap ago I was like saying how rapid he is. Sorry, Clates. But yeah, as I was saying, it really is a skill to follow drivers so close together. You can't use the same braking points as you normally would. You've got to allow for that car in front potentially braking a little bit, you know, different to where you would normally brake. But this is GT3 racing at its finest. This is FRL racing at its finest. As we've got a Pinnacle going around there, the McLaren. Hopefully he gets back on the track and avoids collecting any of the cars. And the Bentley almost tickles him. So Andy on the back of King of the Hills, he's on the back of Storico. I think Storico is carrying damage. I keep saying it, but I think it's quite evident given the fact that Storico, who did have a strong race one, is just keeps falling back and back to the drivers behind him. That Audi really must be hating life right now. That Audi's probably feeling like how I'm feeling on Friday night. As we see Pinnacle also collect a drive-through for track limits. It looks like stopping there. It looks like Pinnacle is retiring from the race early. And he does. That's Pinnacle out of the race. Unfortunate. Back on board with King of the Hills, 888 Porsche. As contact there is made with Storico. That's going to open the door to others, such as Andy, such as David. As we go 3 cars, taking an aggressive inside line as Andy. Oh, that would have been an absolute cracking move if he sent it down the inside. I think there was just a car's width there for Ferrari. Elbows are certainly out. As we see Nico in the 218 Audi pick up and drive through as well for track limits. We'll just jump on board with Shamsho, the number 4 Ferrari, to see. He's probably studied every single letter and coat of paint on the back of that Aston. He's been behind Ben for the last 10 minutes as we head into the final 5. But this race has absolutely flown by. I've only just realised there's only 5 minutes left. It felt like we've only been going for 5 minutes, but we are heading into the final 5 minutes. Jetpacker is chomping away at that lead, but he's just found himself 7 seconds behind. I think that's going to be far too big of a gap unless Cool Racing makes a mistake. But we've got a battle on our hands here, guys, for the final podium position. As Shamso's contact there, I believe. Yep, there was contact. Milden's gone round. He's going to rejoin the track out. Oh, he's rejoined the track out and in awkward place there. Don't think he saw the car coming behind him. That's unfortunate for Ben. Those two are having a ding-dong battle. Unfortunately, Shamsho has rang the doorbell and chucked him out. So, where's that left Ben then? Let's just do it. Has left him, so let's just try and work out as the driver tracker updates. I think that's probably put him back into 5th, I'd imagine. Yep, so Marty's gone through. Oh, and we've got cars off here. It's all happening here. I can't keep up with what's happening. We've got King of the Hill going wide. We've got, looks like Andy. It's all happening in the final 4 minutes. The drivers really are going into full send mode now. We've got Storico all over. Is that a back marker in there? I can't quite work out who that is. We've got Clates, we've got Storico, we've got King of the Hills. I think that Bentley is a back marker. I don't know who that is. Is that Rob? It is, it's Rob involved. So Rob in P17 is in the middle of all this trade. Hopefully he can just pull aside and let these guys carry on racing. He's certainly going to be quicker than them, but we've got to respect that there is a race going on. I think he's got through actually, so I think Rob has got through. As we see down the inside of Chris, having a good race Chris so far, he's up to 11th, having a strong race, and he's up against a 888 Porsche. Let's go side by side. King of the Hills has got the inside, but will Chris have the better exit, going a little bit wider? I think he is. The BMW may have the better exit. We'll stay on board with these two as we head into the final 3 minutes. Side by side, the Porsche and the BMW of Chris and King of the Hills. Can they pick their braking zone and avoid contact? They do, as King of the Hills got a little bit wide, potentially a track limit there. So Shamsho, P3, podium position so far, with Marty 1.7 behind. The gap in front has come down again, as Jack Packer picks up a drive-through penalty for track limits. Now that is certainly going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons. That's potentially going to put him down way into the second half of the field. And Marty will be seeing that on his tracker, thinking, thank you very much, I will take a podium position if I can, if I may, sir. So Jetbacker, who won the first race, has found himself at the end of a drive-through penalty for track limits. I did say at the start of this coverage that track limits can be an issue around here. So let's just see where the action is on the track. We've got Clates 0.4 behind David. We've got cars in the background.
Right, man, leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
And as you would have just heard and seen, the leader is on the final lap, and our leader is Cool Racing with a gap of 6.3. But it will be more than that, with Jetpacker having to serve a drive-through penalty. Which that will be added to the end of his time, as he's not served it this lap. As we have Marty now pushing and closing the gap to Shamsho up ahead. Now if these two were sensible, or if Marty was sensible, probably just bring it home. You don't want to risk contact, because he's going to be on for a podium finish here with the drive-through of Jetpacker. What you don't want to do now, Marty, is send it down the inside of Shamsho and lose yourself a bunch of positions when you've got a podium, on the brink of a podium. However, these are racing drivers. They don't want to go conservative. They want to overtake each other. They want to finish high as they can. So for our sakes as viewers, I hope he isn't conservative. But if I was him, I certainly would be. As Shamsho's gone wide, and that's going to open the door. Thank you very much, Marty. It goes right through. These two are going to be really close together going into the final corner of the final lap. This is going to be a ding-dong battle. As Shamsho's all over the place, a mistake has cost him.
The leader has finished the race.
As our race leader comes through to win the race, I'm going to stay with coverage with these two, as that Ferrari is practically pushing the BMW around the final few corners. Is Marty is going to take a P2 here. There's a 30-second added on for Jetbacker. We'll see how far that puts him down the grid, as Marty comes through to finish. So Ben Milden, P5, David, Clates, Storico, King of the Hills, Chris, so an absolute cracking race there. So just trying to work out the positions of Jetpack. I'm not sure if that's actually updated yet. So he's got a 30 seconds. That potentially puts him down to... My mathematics is really bad here. That's really bad of me considering I work in finance. But surely he's going to lose a few places there unless it has updated. We'll find out what happens there. So anyway guys, that is race 2 finished, and wow, what an absolute evening of racing we've had. I've struggled to keep up with the action at times. Hopefully I've brought you some good coverage of some of the battles. Hopefully you've enjoyed the races, and I certainly will be looking at the Discord server to see what the feedback is, see what the drivers' views are. So we haven't got any driver interviews lined up this week, and we haven't got a post-race debrief with my colleague Axel either this week. So I think I'm going to end the coverage here. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, guys. Just to bring you, actually before we do end the stream, just to bring you the next race on the calendar. So as my laptop refreshes, so our next race, I believe, is going to be Brands Hatch. It is. So join us on October the 30th at 7 PM GMT time for round 3 of the Pure SimGear Super Sprint Sunday on PlayStation 5. Brands Hatch is round 3. I think if that can serve up racing like we've seen here tonight, we're in for another cracker. So I'm off for a cup of tea, a digestive biscuit, and to put the Formula 1 on. Hopefully you've enjoyed the coverage, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend to what is remaining of it, and have a good week. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.